Part 39. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 381. Father Zhong came with the blacksmith. The man's surname was Cai Ming Sheng. He was a middle-aged and thin man with bronze complexion, but he could see that his arm muscles were very explosive. It was the first time that Gu Yao and Qi Changjai saw the blacksmith industry. They were different from the craftsmen. Their weapons were all hammered out with a hammer, and then specialized personnel used special weapons. The material is drawn with patterns on it, and this becomes the weapon used by the body refiner, which is usually called Lingluo. Gu Yao looked at his leg. It was similar to Father Zhong's situation. He also had a prosthetic limb after amputation. Gu Yao was a little strange. It is said that this person's family background is much better than that of Father Zhong, but why didn't he use the limb supplement pill? Cai Sheng took out a piece of his own work and gave it to Gu Yao and Qi Changjai for inspection. It was a sword with a small amount of fire essence stone incorporated. The same hilt has a groove for placing spirit stones. Gu Yao was very curious about this kind of weapon, so he directly input his spiritual power, swung a sword, and a sword chi dragging flames rushed out, startling the Zhong family father and son. However, this flame did not cause any damage to the yard, and it melted away naturally after touching the formation. This sword has reached the mid-level Lingwu of the 6th rank. How could Master Cai be willing to come to our small shop to be a blacksmith? Gu Yao asked curiously. There is no shortage of buyers for this quality of Lingwu, right? He didn't expect Father Zhong to find such a powerful blacksmith as soon as he looked for it, which exceeded his expectations. Cai Sheng was very naive, and then he said, I heard that you have a spirit essence goo in your store. I want a spirit essence goo. You can try to draw array patterns on my weapons in the future. I think I can do it. Gu Yao smiled. It turned out that this is also a brave man who dared to try, so he said, okay, let's give you the unsold Lingyu and Gu, work hard, we will hand over the weapon sales of our Guka shop to you later. Already. Cai Sheng had already inquired about the news, and the other one was of the best quality. Because the price was too high, it was always envied by people but no one started. I didn't expect it to be given to him by the owner. No, his owner gave it to him in the future. It's great, Cai Sheng excitedly said, I'll do it well. Father Zhong was not surprised by this situation. The two seniors had always been generous in their actions, and they were vying for the spirit essence goo. After all, it is a foreign object and cannot be overly reliant on. He has always kept these in mind and reminded his son frequently. Gu Yao and Qi Changjai went to see Cai Sheng's forging shop and renovated and upgraded it. In fact, they invested in a spirit stone to upgrade some equipment. Taking advantage of this convenience, when Cai Sheng was working, Gu Yao and Qi Changjai would go to watch, and Father Zhong would sometimes be there. Of course, this was only with the consent of Cai Sheng. Generally speaking, this kind of master and apprentice would visit. Skills that will only be taught in time will not be seen by outsiders. There are similarities between training and refining. First, the impurities in the embryo must be removed as much as possible. The former is through continuous hammering, and the latter is extracted through smelting. Listening to Cai Sheng hammering the embryo, there was an incessant jingling sound in his ears, with a very special rhythm, and Cai Sheng himself also integrated into the aura formed by this rhythm. Gu Yao and Qi Changjai. They all sank in for a moment, and when they came out, they glanced at each other. Sure enough, no profession could be underestimated. There are thousands of roads, but in the end, they all end in the same way. It is a blacksmith like iron, and will also walk out of his own way in the end. Between Cai Sheng's breaths and breaths, the surrounding aura was also driven. His hammer drove the hammer into the embryo, and was hammered out with impurities. Maybe some of the aura will remain in the embryo. to achieve the result of improving the quality of the embryo. The two did not disturb Cai Sheng, who was addicted to forging, and Zhongfu, who was also fascinated, left quietly. Gu Yao smiled and said, Tianyi, our brother is not here. If he sees it, maybe he would like to communicate with Master Cai and learn from each other's strengths. Qi Changjai echoed, yes, this forging process should also have the effect of refining the body for blacksmiths, and this kind of spiritual martial arts can also be used by monks. In my body, I am also tempering the body of the blacksmith. Perhaps to some extent the blacksmith has hammered and forged his own body like an embryo. The magic weapons used by Lingwu and monks are not uncommon. Like the large-scale flying magic weapons used by sects in the past, they rely on spirit stones to provide energy. The aircraft they use can be driven by their own spiritual power, or they can use spirit stone to start. More than a year later, the Gukha store not only made a name for itself in the North District, but also spread to other places. In addition to the Wolf Slayer, there are several other hunting teams that have formed a good relationship with the store, and can give priority to the acquisition of their out-of-city harvest, but the best relationship is still the Wolf Slayer. The strength of the Wolf Slayer team is the strongest, and the quality of the spiritual materials sent is also the best. With enough spiritual materials to practice, Gu Yao can refine more and more types of 5th grade pills, but most of these pills are not in circulation. And even outsiders always thought that Gu Yao was a 6th grade alchemist with a general alchemy technique, but it was enough in the northern district. In addition to Cai Sheng, Gukha's shop finally recruited other helpers, 1 alchemist and 2 talismans, with average levels, all of which are still in the late stage of Jindan. We have expanded our staff, and with them as a precedent, we will attract more helpers in the future. However, the best sellers in Gukha's shop are still the Spirit Essence Gu, which is in short supply, and the weapons created by Cai Sheng. The latter was originally discovered by the Wolf Slayer team. It turned out to be based on a good relationship. When replenishing weapons, they bought them directly from the Gukha shop. It turned out that the weapons of the Gukha shop were easier to use and more powerful. Having passed other weapons of the same grade, at the same price, they would of course prefer the weapons here. With the spread of fame, it is not only the body refiners who are attracted, but also the cultivators who will patronize them. They are also interested in the Spirit Essence Gu. Unfortunately, Gu Yao still believes that the Spirit Essence Gu is difficult to cultivate and the supply is limited. The purpose is often that people who are staring at it have long since rushed to book it before it has been cultivated. The business of Gukha's shop is getting better and better. It's not that it didn't attract jealous colleagues. However, not only did the Wolf Slayer team speak out and cover the shop, but some people sneaked into Gukha's shop several times, but in the end, these people disappeared without a trace. No trace, no bones left. The result of going back and forth made the competitors have to give up their own ideas. The Zhong family and his son are just fine. Those 2 owners are definitely not to be messed with. Father Zhong calculated that he had enough spirit stones and wanted to send his son to Panshiman for cultivation. He has often helped Cai Sheng over the past year, and Cai Sheng occasionally gave him some pointers. Father Zhong had an idea that he wanted to follow Cai Sheng. Learning to forge, this way out is not necessarily worse than hunting out of the city. But I don't know if Cai Sheng is willing to accept his old apprentice and pass this forging skill to him. Just as he was so worried, a few more customers came to the store. Father Zhong smiled skillfully to greet them, but the smile on his face faded when he saw the people coming. The 2 cultivators walked in front, but the ones walking beside him were grandfather's son and the Lu family. A year ago, when he was just injured, the sparring job his son found was from Sun Lei, the son of Sun's father, behind his back. He later learned the truth by chance. That's all, but over the past year, Gukha's shop has been forcibly broken into by outsiders twice. After investigation, there are also shadows of the Sun family and Lu family. This time, he came with 2 cultivators. Can he? Guess what idea came up behind the 2 to deal with the store? He didn't understand. The grandfather and the Lu family both got a spirit essence goo. Why are they targeting Guk's shop everywhere? Is it because the store's revenue hurts their eyes? Thinking like this, with a smile on his face, the 2 seniors came to our store. What do you need? The 2 monks, one in the early stage of spirit transformation and the other in the late nascent soul, looked very proud. They glanced at the items on the display shelf with critical eyes, showing a touch of disdain. That is, these reckless people saw these things. If they were cultivators, they would despise this kind of quality elixir. But there is one thing that is different. They have also seen Ling Yuan-gu from the Sun family and Lu family. How can they not know how much help such a Ling Yuan-gu will bring, not to mention, if the training method is in their hands, is equivalent to getting a cough. Where's your shop owner? We want to see your shop owner, the Yuanying cultivator said arrogantly. Father Sun's eyes flashed with pride, and he said to Father Zhong, Zhonghai, let me introduce to you, these 2 senior cultivators are from Master Du Dan. Do you know? That is the place where Dan Master Ye is enshrined in the city lord's mansion. My disciple, the 2 seniors have come to see your shop owner on something important, and if you miss a big event, your entire shop can't afford it. Father Zhong was startled. This was a bad visitor. The alchemist Ye mentioned by Father Sun was the highest grade alchemist in the city. In the entire Biya city, his status was only under the city lord, and he was the city lord himself. This alchemist Ye is also very respectful. Thinking like this in his heart, he didn't show it on his face, so as not to show his cowardice in front of the 2 seniors first. He said, wait a moment, 2, I'll go later and inform the 2 owners. After politely clenching their fists, they turned around and walked into the backyard. The 2 monks were not satisfied with not seeing the spirit essence goo in the store, while the spirit essence goo in the hands of grandfather and Lu family members was of average grade. They disliked it, and they heard that the best one was given to a blacksmith by the shopkeeper, which was a waste in their opinion. Second seniors, the big thing is bad. As soon as he entered the backyard, Father Zhong shouted in a panic. At this moment, Guyao and Qi Changjai are sitting under the tree and teasing a black cat, and the other is leaning against the tree, holding a book in their hands. This kind of leisure makes people unbearable to disturb them, but right now they can't care about it. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 382. Guyao and Qi Changjai walked into the shop side by side, followed by Father Zhong. He saw that the 2 seniors were not panicked, but also calmed down a lot. Seeing the 2 monks mentioned by Father Zhong, who are said to be related to the alchemist Ye from the city lord's mansion, Guyao did not disagree and asked calmly, we are the shopkeepers, what do you 2 fellow Taoists need? The 2 monks who came here were informed of the situation of this shop long ago, but they were just 2 foreign monks with no foundation. Otherwise, how could they be in the North District? So I have no scruples about pinching them. The cultivator raised his chin and said, your shop has been recruited by the city lord's mansion, and you are limited to hand over the following items within 1 month, otherwise you will be punished as a crime. The monk flipped his hand and took out a piece of paper, and slapped it on the counter with a pop. Guyao swept his eyes lightly, and chuckled lightly, what else is there to order? If you don't have it, it's better to leave. You. The god transformation cultivator didn't expect that he took out the city lord's mansion summoning order, and didn't change the color of these 2 people. Okay, then we'll wait. The 2 fellow deists, please don't delay the important event of the city lord's mansion. Let's go. After the 4 of them left in awe, Father Zhong picked up the summoning order and was shocked when he saw it, and said with an air, this is a recruitment, it is obviously difficult for a strong man, and within a month, 100 spirit essence goo of the best quality will be handed over, and a bunch of elixirs and weapons, which Father Zhong's face was flushed, and he was speechless. Qi Changjai stretched out his hand and flicked it, and the so-called city lord's mansion summoning order turned into a powder. It's just using chicken feathers as an arrow, don't ignore it, but I want to inquire about what's happening in the city lord's palace recently, and a summoning order will be sent. There should be some action in the city lord's mansion, but the so-called conscription order distributed here, I guess, is the private behavior of some people. They don't want to cause trouble, but that doesn't mean they are afraid of trouble. Gu Yao nodded, yes, first find out what happened before you can deal with it, don't panic, it can't go on here, it's a big deal to start a new one. Father Zhong made up his mind and went out to inquire about the news. There are still quite a few news channels in the store. Hunting teams such as the Wolf Slayer must have their own sources of information. Father Zhong was the first to find them. Then he came back and reported to Gu Yao and Qi Changjai. Gu Yao raised his eyebrows when he heard it. So, the city lord's mansion really found a treasure land with abundant water, but it was occupied by wild beasts, so now the monks in the city are recruited to expel these wild beasts. Father Zhong nodded. At first, a hunting team broke into that area by mistake, and after they came out, they reported the news. The people of the wolf-slaying team paid a little attention, but more specific news has to wait for them to go out of the city to hunt. The team will only know when they come back. Father Zhong thought for a while and then said, if it is really the summoning order issued by the city lord, the consequences will be more serious if you don't obey it, but such a summoning order will not be others, and the summoning orders brought by the two are obviously inconsistent. Father Zhong also said something that happened in the past. In the past, Bia City would only issue a summoning order when a large-scale wild beast tide occurred, calling all the monks and body refiners in the city to guard the city and kill them. Wild beast. Once such a summoning order is issued, in addition to being expelled from Bia City, those who violate the order will also be passed on to other cities in the barren state, and some cities will refuse such monks to enter. In the evening, Zhong Chen also knew about this matter, and was more anxious than Father Zhong. In their minds, the city lord's mansion was high above the ground. Once the city lord's mansion was provoked, the fate would not be much better than being devoured by wild beasts outside the city. Zhong Chen looked at the girl in front of him and said impatiently, why are you looking for me? I have to go back to work. In addition to body training, he also studied with his father and two seniors, so as to increase his horizons. Even in the usual body training exercises, he was corrected and instructed by the seniors. Now the exercise feels much smoother, and the progress is faster than before. As for Lu Qiao in front of her, it wasn't her own appearance. Zhong Chen was about to leave these people behind, and Dad also said that the people from the Lu family actually made the idea of the seniors' shop behind their backs. Senior cultivator, don't take us seriously. In vain, I still miss you, I want to remind you. Before. Didn't these people unite to bully and exclude themselves before? Remind. Reminder what? Zhong Chen became vigilant in his heart. If you have something to say, I will go back. Wait, Lu Qiao was even more permissive. In the past, Zhong Chen used to be careful to please herself. When did she have such an impatient side? I'm really doing it for you and your daddy. You should leave that store now. Some big people are eyeing that store. They can't be the opponents of big people. You will not end well if you follow along. My grandfather also said that. The big man said that the method of cultivating spirit essence goo in your shop was stolen from them. You have to take the initiative to hand it over, and if you don't hand it, there is no way to survive. Zhong Chen couldn't believe his ears, and angrily said, nonsense. When senior didn't come, where was there any spiritual essence goo? They are clearly robbers. Be quiet, behind the big man is the city lord's mansion. What do you use to reason with the people in the city lord's mansion? So I advise you and your father to leave quickly, so as not to be implicated by them. Ah Chen, I am really doing it for your own good. Otherwise, you also persuade your shopkeepers, don't go against the people in the city lord's mansion, and hand over the things quickly, otherwise there will be no good end. After Lu Qiao finished saying these words, she left quickly. Zhong Chen angrily walked back to the store. When Father Zhong saw a problem, he grabbed him and asked what was going on. How could Zhong Chen hide it and take Lu Qiao with him? The words said were repeated. Father Zhong was also angry, and hummed, as expected, this is the idea. They just want to use empty gloves and white wolves to get away to cultivate spirit essence Gu. Any city lord's mansion summoning order is all a pretense, despicable villain. Someone has an idea of playing Ling Yuan Gu. The Zhong family father and son were furious when a voice suddenly sounded from behind. The two were startled and quickly looked at it. It turned out that Captain Luo of the Wolf Slayer team stepped into the store at some point, just in time to hear the last words of Zhong's father. Captain Luo, you are here, please come in, are you here to see our boss? Someone's idea of attacking Ling Yuan Gu? Is it someone from the city lord's mansion? Luo Xiao asked repeatedly. Due to his power, Father Zhong honestly recounted what happened during the day, including the words that others persuaded his son just now. Father Zhong suspects that someone will persuade him with the same words soon. The seniors have put pressure on them, and one method will not work, and there will be endless methods waiting. After hearing this, Luo Xiao's face became more and more gloomy. At this time, Gu Yao's voice transmission, who noticed the movement in front of him, asked Father Zhong to invite Captain Luo in. Luo Xiao came to the backyard, took a seat and said without any extra politeness, and said bluntly, I didn't expect this matter to involve the two of you, the two seniors don't need to worry too much about the summoning order, only the city lord signed by the city lord himself. Only the government has a restraining effect, and the reason why they act like this is because they feel that the two seniors have no background in the city, so they are unscrupulous. Thank you Captain Luo for coming here to tell us these things. Qi Changjai poured wine for Luo Xiao, we also know their intentions, whether it's soft or hard. Let's go, Captain Luo, why don't you tell us about the outside world? It's a matter of abundant water and treasure land. Seeing that the two of them were not very afraid of this matter, Luo Xiao felt good in his heart, so he told them the news that their wolf extermination team could get. At first, as Father Zhong said, it was the news brought by the survivors of a hunting party. It has been half a year. In the past 6 months, there have been people in the city lord's mansion to investigate the situation there. The more you go in that area, the stronger the entrenched wild beasts are, the harder it is to enter, but the interior is indeed rich in spiritual energy, and there are many heaven and earth treasures growing, which is enough to make the city lord's mansion, including the forces in the city that get news, moved, and that's why there will be joint action. Actually, the city lord's mansion will work with the big forces in the city. Hunting teams like us also have forces to come in contact with them. We hope that our wolf killing team will join them in their actions and make generous rewards. We are considering it. Going is going, but you need to consider which party you choose to join, because these parties clearly want to use our Wolf Slayer team as aid to play the outpost for them. Gu Yao and Qi Changjai looked at each other, and both of them understood something. This Luo Xiao was also a smart person. A smile appeared in Gu Yao's eyes. So, Captain Luo means. Luo Xiao noticed the clear look in the other party's eyes, and felt a little uncomfortable. There is a missing point. If two people join, it will be even more powerful, and it will be more certain. Luo Xiao didn't have such an idea early on, but after knowing what happened to Guk's shop, and the more he said it, the more feasible it became. It also relieved the worry of Guk's shop not being recruited, because the other party but there is no handle, at least it can't be done on the surface. Of course, the embarrassment in the dark is definitely indispensable. And okay. Captain Luo still wanted to persuade him again. He was not good at speaking and was worried that the other party would think that he was thinking the same as the people who came from the daytime. When I heard the word good, I couldn't react. Gu Yao repeated, I said yes, the two of us are willing to cooperate with the Wolf Slayer team, we go out for a walk, and the operation of the store is not the main purpose. With such a good opportunity, how can we not see a fan? Luo Xiao was overjoyed. Although a team like them could hire cultivators, it was very difficult to hire cultivators at the God transformation level. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 383. Luo Xiao returned with satisfaction. Gu Yao informed the Zhong family and his son about this, so the next day, Gu Kai's shop was closed and no longer open to the public. All for this action. The wolf killing team also soon said that the wolf killing team will cooperate with the owner of Guk's shop to join the beast hunting action called by the city lord's mansion. Father Sun and Father Lu were the first to get the news. Originally, when they saw the store closing, they thought they were really scared. Unexpectedly, they turned around and heard the words released by the Wolf Slayer team. They were shocked and angry, and did not dare to delay. They quickly reported the news to the two monks. Somewhere in a cave in the southern district of Biacheng. Really, the person who asked the question had a gloomy expression on his face. It was the cultivator Ma who went to Guk's shop the other day. A small wolf extermination team dares to destroy Ma's good deeds. Uncle, do you think we should just? Another nascent soul cultivator gestured, meaning that he directly sent people to destroy the people in Guk's shop, and he would definitely find a way to cultivate spirit essence Gu from them. The reason why they took a fancy to Ling Yuan Gu was not only because they found that it was very popular among body refiners, but also found that Ling Yuan Gu was also very beneficial to cultivators. They took this opportunity to master the cultivation method of Ling Yuan Gu, rather than participating in this workshop. The gain from this action is even greater, and it is still a long-term business. A bad guy's fortune is not the same as killing his parents. This cultivator surnamed Ma regards Ling Yuan Gu as his own, so how can he allow others to destroy it? The monk surnamed Ma said with a sneer, it's too easy to kill them directly. I want them to know what they are in Bia city. If they don't obey, it will be more uncomfortable than death. Uncle Master is wise. The prices of materials in the city began to rise, especially the finished products, such as elixir and magic talismans. The raw materials were better, but the merchants who originally supplied Guk's stores found various excuses to refuse to provide them. Father Zhong hated secretly. He didn't know that someone was behind it and deliberately made things difficult for Guk's shop. He still didn't believe that there was no place to buy those materials in such a big Biacheng. Before he could go to other places, the Wolf Slayer team sent a large amount of materials, which completely met the needs of the store. People who secretly followed Guk's store left. In fact, most of the body refiners in the northern district have a good impression of Guk's shop and its two owners. Those monks have always treated them highly, but these two owners don't look at them in a strange way, not to mention that there is a spirit element Gu. Good thing, when they hunted wild beasts outside the city, the harvest was greatly increased, and the casualty rate was also reduced a lot. These are all real benefits, and they are beneficial to body refiners, so I still hope that the Guk's store can continue to open. It is related to the government, and almost no one is optimistic that the Guk's store can tide over this difficulty. So they are quite puzzled that the Wolf Slayer will take action at this time. Isn't the Wolf Slayer team afraid of being suppressed by the other side as well? No matter what outsiders think, Gu Yao and Qi Changjai took the employees in the store to prepare carefully, and some of the magic talismans and medicinal pills were to be provided to the partner Wolf Slayer team. During this period, there were still people who came into contact with the father and son of the Jeune family and tried their best to persuade them, so that the father and son would not go out unless necessary. Busy. Soon it was time to leave, and the store was handed over to the Jeune family and his son to guard. Of course, if there was any emergency, it was important to save his life. There was no important property in the store, and they had to wait for them to return from outside before they opened. At the gate of the city, the main combat members of the Wolf Slayer team have arrived. Thousands of people have gathered here, and together with those who came to watch the fun, the sky and the ground are crowded. Another team with similar strength to the Wolf Slayer team, its captain shouted to Luo Xiao, "Captain Luo, the two owners of Guka's shop will not regret it, they haven't arrived yet, wait for the people from the lower city lord's mansion to arrive, we are about to set off, are they bigger than the monks in the city lord's mansion?" Then he moved away and looked in the other direction. The captain was very annoyed and was about to continue shouting when someone shouted, "Come, they are here." "Who is here?" The people who came were of course Gu Yao and Qi Changjai. The two of them stepped into the air and didn't seem to be in a hurry. However, in the blink of an eye, they reached the front of the wolf-slaying team and fell. What is the appearance of immortals? Maybe that is what they say. This is the thought that arises in the hearts of many people, and even some people who wanted to belittle them were speechless. The monks in the southern district who arrived first did not know the reason. The only two monks who came to see them were in the early stage of God transformation, and they didn't care too much. "Are we late?" Gu Yao glanced. No. Luo Xiao nodded to them, and then ordered, "Give up a riding beast to the two seniors." "Yes, Captain." Immediately someone brought out a riding beast. This riding beast was domesticated from the wild beast. It walked very fast on the grassland and was a favorite means of transportation for body refiners. After Gu Yao thanked him, he and Qi Changjai went together, floating onto the back of this riding beast. The back of the riding beast is very broad and flat. Since they left the Tianlin continent, they have rarely ridden such a mount, which feels quite good. After a while, a huge flying treasure ship flew from the sky. Luo Xiao introduced to Gu Yao and the others that the team from the city lord's mansion had arrived. When he saw a man flying out of the treasure ship, the robe was blown up by the wind, and the hunting sounded, and he was quite immortal. He said, "Let's go." The team in the air and the ground started together, and the momentum on the ground was especially huge. The dust was rumbled and the ground was shaking. The cultivator in the sky was always standing in front of the treasure ship, and along with the treasure ship, Luo Xiao introduced to them in a low voice that this person is the city lord Qin of Biya city, the only cultivator in the city. Even the city lord Qin dispatched himself. Now, it seems that the place is more important than we expected. If there is an accident, the two seniors don't have to take care of us. They often went out of the city to hunt wild beasts, and they were prepared to die early, but Gu Yao and Qi Changjai who joined temporarily were different. The monks wanted to save their lives more than their means at the critical moment. Luo Xiao said these words very sincerely. "Cultivation is not easy, you have to take care of yourself," Gu Yao said. On the treasure ship above, someone kept searching for the crowd below, and it didn't take long to find it. "Look, right there, these two monks really got mixed up with those reckless men, which is a shame for us monks." As expected, Monk Matthew saw the two people sitting on the backs of the beasts, and his eyes also showed disdain. The monks traveled and liked to use wild beasts as mounts. They usually domesticated those birds. Such beasts are only driven by reckless people. Matthew walked to the cultivator with his eyes closed and rested, and whispered a few words in his ear. The cultivator opened his eyes, and the light flashed. "Is what you said true? Do you really have this thing? It can help the alchemist to improve the success rate of alchemy. And the quality of the pill." Matthew patted the horse and said, "How dare I deceive alchemy do? I often hear alchemy do say that the spiritual power of alchemy is not enough at the end, and it is a bit reluctant to affect the effect of the medicinal pill, but with this spirit essence goo, it will make a big difference. Now, that cultivator has a 6th grade high-grade spirit essence goo, and the spiritual power it can provide will definitely not be low. With such a spirit essence goo to assist in alchemy, Alchemy Do will definitely be able to outperform other alchemists. Dan. The teacher will also take a high look. Du Danqi's eyes lit up. This is not the crux of his problem. He is in the early stage of spiritual transformation. Although he is a disciple of Danqi, he is actually only named. The success rate of making 5-grade primary pills is extremely low, not to mention the appearance. If this spirit essence goo can really help him solve this crux and increase the success rate of pills, then he will definitely let Alchemist take a high look and give him all the money, and even the city lord can get a higher status. Then why don't you help Du Mao get the spirit essence goo? I want to try it myself. The cultivator Matthew immediately frowned and said, I wanted to donate the spirit essence goo to Alchemy Do, but those two cultivators didn't know what was wrong. They hung around with a bunch of reckless men all day without saying anything, and they refused to donate the spirit essence goo. Du Danqi, look, they are right downstairs, they dare to be so arrogant and ignore Du Danqi. This time I will definitely give them a hard lesson for Du Danqi. Annoyed, he looked down. Where is the arrogant and ignorant boy? Don't take Du Mao's face into account. Du Mao can still talk on the side of Beia City. Matthew can understand Du Danqi's temperament thoroughly. Among Danqi's disciples, Du Danqi is definitely a marginal person, but the more this is, the more self-esteem Du Danqi is, and he cannot tolerate others despising him. Now these two guys are unlucky, and the days to come will never be easy. No matter what, Du Danqi also wears the title of Danqi's disciple. Yes, Alchemy Do, feel free to leave this matter to me, I will definitely satisfy Alchemy Do. Yes, you must get the spirit essence goo for Du Mao. If it is really effective, Du Mao will not forget your credit, Alchemy Do said with relief. Then I'll thank Du Danqi first. Matthew said happily that although he was a god-turning cultivator like Du Danqi, he still had to rely on Du Danqi's sect and become a guest minister in his house. The thugs who helped him do things, but with the name of Du Danqi, Matthew has obtained a lot of benefits over the years. From time to time, someone looks at them with malicious eyes. Guyao and Qi Changjai can feel it no matter how slow they are, and they can guess who the owner of the eyes is without even thinking about it. Luo Xiao was also discussing the power situation of the city lord's mansion for the two of them, focusing on the cultivator Matthew who came that day and the alchemist Du Dan behind him. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 384. The team on the ground and air traveled on the grassland for several days before reaching the edge of the destination. Because the momentum of the traveling team was too large, the barren beasts and herds passing by avoided one after another, so they did not stop all the way. When they got here, City Lord Qin flew out of the treasure ship again. With a wave of his hand, the team stopped. Someone else came out and arranged for everyone to rest on the spot. The City Lord Qin led a group of cultivators to personally investigate the situation ahead. Guyao and Qi Changjai stayed on the back of the riding beast all the time, watching Qin Cheng lead the people to fly away, and soon returned back. When entering the treasure ship, it was obvious that they had to arrange how to move forward. Arriving here, their riding beasts were a little restless because of the breath of many wild beasts in the front area. Fortunately, they were all domesticated and calmed down after being appeased. Guyao held his chin and asked, "Has Captain Luo been here before? Have you dealt with the wild beasts in front of you?" Captain Luo shook his head. "No, the wild beasts in this area have always appeared in groups, which is a place that all hunting teams will avoid. If there is only one team of us, I have no confidence to lead everyone to survive intact. But there are always some adventurers who will use various concealment methods to sneak in and hunt down the wild beasts designated by the tasker that will only appear here. Just as he was talking, another row of monks flew out of the treasure boat and stood in mid-air. Luo Xiao pointed to the person in front and said, "That's Steward Li of the City Lord's mansion. It looks like he's about to start moving." Sure enough, Butler Li above spoke, "Everyone, there are a lot of wild beasts in front of you, and you need everyone to work together to hunt them down." Here, on behalf of the City Lord, Li announces that all the wild beasts that are hunted belong to everyone. After arriving at the core area, the city masters of Tianke and Daibao will also be distributed reasonably according to everyone's contributions. As for how many of these teams are left alive, it is not something they need to worry about. The words received a lot of echoes, as well as praises to the City Lord Qin. All teams will participate in this operation. In addition to responding to the call of the City Lord Qin, the treasures inside are also their important goals. As for the hunted wild beasts instead, it's a secondary one, but it looks like it's going to be a very big fortune right now. Next, we will allocate suitable areas to everyone according to the strength of each team. I hope everyone will follow the orders of the city master. After some mobilization, the people in the City Lord's mansion arranged corresponding offensive and defensive directions and areas for each team. Seeing the frequent gazes of other teams towards the Wolf Slayer, how could Gu Yao and the others not know that something is waiting here? As for them, the positions they are in charge of must be very dangerous. It seems that we have implicated the wolves. Luo Xiao shook his head. Without the two seniors, the results would not be much different. A team like ours wouldn't be able to get in touch with people from the City Lord's mansion, and the final assignment would not be very good. Sure enough, when it was their turn, one of the stewards in the City Lord's mansion looked at them with contempt, and then dropped a piece of animal skin with the area they were in charge of. "This is your task, there is no City Lord. The government has ordered that you must not step back. If something goes wrong, you will know what the consequences will be." After speaking, the steward left. This is what Du Dan asked him to arrange. He has no interest in the reason why this hunting team offended Du Dan. Hunting teams like the Wolf Slayer in Biya City should not be too much. There are many, the Wolf Slayer is gone, and there will be many replacement teams, so there is no need for a second of hesitation as to how to choose between Du Dan and the Wolf Slayer. The people of the Wolf Slayer team dared not to speak out. The task was assigned, and after some research, they headed to the designated area as shown on the map. The map indicates the wild beasts that have been detected so far, but there is no guarantee that other wild beasts will not appear. Everything depends on the rich experience and combat strength of each team. After staying away from the eyes of the other teams, Gu Yao called out the cubs and let them explore the way with the scouts of the Wolf Slayer team. The large mounted beasts have been put away, otherwise the movement of the beasts will be too great, and the wild beasts will be disturbed prematurely. Moreover, the combat effectiveness of the mounted beasts is very general, and it will be a hindrance if they can't help much. The sudden appearance of the black cat made the people of the wolf extermination team a little surprised. It is very common to raise a spiritual pet, but this. Zai Zai seemed to see the suspicious eyes of others, raised his head and snorted arrogantly, and then disappeared into everyone's eyes as a puff of smoke. Gu Yao knew his little psychology like the back of his hand, laughed secretly, and explained to Captain Luo, the cub's strength is not weak, and his ability to explore the way is first class. You don't have to take him into account. If they were a little worried before, but now they can't find the whereabouts of the black cat, it can be seen that it has some special skills, not the ordinary black cat beast they have seen. From Luo Xiao's point of view, Gu Yao and Qi Changjai are quite capable monks, and they don't have any strange eyes on body refiners. How can the spiritual pets that follow them be ordinary? Luo Xiao then ordered the scouts to explore the way first, and the team followed, but the speed was reduced. He was still studying the animal skin map. The situation marked on the map was more complicated, and there were two desolate beast groups listed. One is a tin lizard, and one is a three-tailed scorpion. they are not very easy to deal with. Without sufficient preparation, they will go up rashly, and it is very likely that the entire army will be wiped out. Because of their fear of the city lord's mansion, they still can't fully trust this map, and that's why the scouts acted. Guyao and Chi Changjai also released their divine senses while walking with the team, and they told Luo Xiao what they saw at any time. Luo Xiao kept adding things on the map. The Wolf Slayer team originally had monks, but the monks recruited were not very high level. This time, Guyao and Chi Changjai joined, and several monks stayed in the city. Now it seems that Guyao and Chi Changjai have played a really big role. There are still many monks left on the treasure ship in the air. For example, the monks like the alchemist do not need to do anything most of the time. The city lord himself is also sitting on the treasure ship, and has a general overview of the situation of this operation. There was a monk in green beside City Lord Qin, who looked like he was in his 20s and 30s, but also in his 30s and 40s. His face was a little blurry, making it unreal. The two of them were condescending, and they had an unobstructed view of the scene below. City Lord Qin said, "Master Ye, do you think this operation will go well?" The monk in the blue shirt is the special enshrined alchemist Ye in the city lord's mansion. His voice is slightly hoarse. "If it doesn't go well, will the Qin city lord order to stop the action?" City Lord Qin laughed loudly. Alchemist Ye said it well. He was determined to win, so how could he give up easily? Alchemist Ye added, "Not to mention City Lord Qin, even Ye will not give up. Ye has stopped at this stage for a long time. This time is a chance for Ye." City Lord Qin understands Alchemy Ye's temperament very well. Once a decision is made, no one can turn him back. Since it is what Alchemist Ye wishes, someone Qin will do everything he can to help Alchemist Ye, but Alchemist Ye breaks through. After that, I'm sure I won't stay in Biacheng anymore. Ye Danqi smiled. How can Biacheng be the place where the Qin city lord stayed for a long time? City Lord Qin also laughed. Yes, as long as his cultivation base goes one step further, he will also leave Bia City to find his own chance. In the end, Bia City can meet his resource conditions a little bit. On the other hand, Matthew is very proud. Look, it's so easy to teach a few guys who don't have long eyes. Although those two guys are similar to him, who made Danqi do and the city lord's mansion behind him. Yuan Ying next to him congratulated him in advance, and Matthew waved his hand and said, "It's too early to say anything. You can find someone to stare at me, but don't let them die." Looking at an extremely compassionate appearance, in fact, he didn't want them to die, and the things on their bodies were gone, so how would he find a way to cultivate spirit essence goo? The Yuanying cultivator flattered and said, "Don't worry, uncle, I will definitely keep an eye on it." At this moment, the people of the wolf extermination team are in the midst of joy. The scouts and the black cat cubs came back almost at the same time, but the result brought back was that the cubs were more comprehensive and detailed. After all, he could quietly break into the wild beast habitat, while scouts can only probe outside. Condition. Therefore, with the more comprehensive map supplemented by the cubs, and under the leadership of the cubs and Guyao Kai Changjai, they circled a path and shuttled to the rear of one of the beasts, occupying a commanding height of the entire area. It is also for them. Chi Changjai set up a formation, and those in the formation for people to rest will immediately return to the formation once they are unable to do so. Start fighting. Luo Xiao gave an order, and threw the spiritual talisman and the one-time blasting magic weapon. The throwing hands were equipped with spiritual essence goo. Below, the place covered with weeds and thorns shook, mixed with the angry roars of wild beasts. Guyao and Chi Changjai were floating in the sky, and they could see the situation below more clearly. This blow overturned a lot of three-tailed scorpions. This thing is not easy to deal with, because it is poisonous, not to mention that there is a large nest of three-tailed scorpions here. It is obvious that the people behind them deliberately assigned them to the scorpion nest. Therefore, the first thing they had to deal with after finding out the situation was this nest of scorpions, and that tin lizard was known for its defensive power, so such a bombardment might not cause many casualties to them. Throw again, look at the direction, chi change I ordered from above, and at the same time, a sword chi hit somewhere below. The sword chi was clearly colored and the target was very clear. So the second wave of bombardment arrived again, and the nest of scorpions that had just gathered below was bombarded and screamed. Put again. Boom. The movement here is not small, but because of the distance, it did not attract the attention of the monks guarding the treasure ship, and the people of the Wolf Slayer team did not care whether anyone paid attention. The main purpose of destroying these wild beasts is. After 3 consecutive rounds of bombing, Guyao and Chi Changjai waved their sleeves in the sky, their spiritual power swept away the dust and smoke, and everyone could see the scene below. Those terrifying 3-tailed scorpions had killed and injured most of them. Luo Xiao was overjoyed, and it really was with him. The cooperation between Guyao and Chi Changjai is most beneficial to them, waving his hands and saying, "All out, kill the 3-tailed scorpion. Be careful of your defense." Okay. One by one rushed out from the high ground like wolves, waving the weapons in their hands to harvest the lives of the 3-tailed scorpion. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 385. The 3-tailed scorpion has 3 tails, and each tail has a stinger. Although it is extremely difficult to deal with, if you get this stinger, you can sell it for an excellent price. It is very popular among body refiners and monks. Welcome. This time, with the spirit essence goo and spirit talisman provided by Guk's shop, they actually killed more than half of the 3-tailed scorpion in 3 bombings, as if the 3-tailed scorpion was not as scary as the legend, and it was easy to deal with. Rush up to make up for the wounded 3-tailed scorpion. This time, most of the magic talismans provided by Guk's shop are the most powerful Thunderbolt talismans, which were made by Chi Changjai himself. Although the 3-tailed scorpion is extremely poisonous, in fact, the scorpion king of a nest of scorpions is not as strong as the late nascent soul. How to withstand the bombardment of these charms? Guyao and Chi Changjai also followed the crowd through the mountains and forests with complex terrain. They took the life of a 3-tailed scorpion. After an hour, the battle was over. There was a rumbling tremor under their feet. Luo Xiao ordered everyone to withdraw quickly. Highlands, ready for the next battle. Everyone rushed back quickly, not forgetting to take away the spoils on the way. When the iron scorpion arrived, they had all withdrawn, and began to deal with the scorpion stinger brought back from the harvest, which will be used to deal with the next round of drought. Beast, the tin hide. Chameleon. Guyao and Chi Changjai also returned to the formation, and they could clearly see the scene below. The 3-tailed scorpion was no taller than a person, but this iron skin lizard was like a giant iron bull, and it was covered with black scales. So that the green below disappeared, leaving only a dense layer of black, coming towards the high ground where they were at a slow speed, and the tremors caused by their actions could be felt on the high ground. Luo Xiao didn't get too complacent because he harvested a group of 3-tailed scorpions, and still calmly analyzed, the iron scorpion has few weaknesses. One is the soft part of their lower abdomen, which is not easily exposed, and the other is their eyes. But as long as you close your eyes, the scales on your eyelids will protect you again. So the first attack is to shoot their eyes with poisonous thorns. As many as they can kill. Hundreds of tin lizards were originally a huge burden for them, and it was almost impossible to solve them without damaging the soldiers. But now Luo Xiao and his teammates had increased their confidence, and they were able to harvest the 3-tailed scorpion before the tin lizards arrived, and they had already succeeded for the most part. The team members were ready, took up the crossbow, put on the cut stinger, and aimed at the target. Shooting. The stinger with Hanmang shot out. Some scorpions reacted quickly, closed their eyelids, and rattled for a while. He got up, rammed on the spot, knocked over all the companions beside him, and as soon as his belly was exposed, someone who was ready immediately shot and stabbed the lizard into the belly of the lizard with a chi sound. The original formation of the lizards was immediately destroyed, but this result was incomparable to the previous three-tailed scorpion, but it was also expected by everyone. Boulder Rune. Another wave of talismans smashed out, turning into boulders in mid-air and landing. Some were pushed out by the lizards with their iron heads, and some smashed the lizards over, and the archers waited for such an opportunity to shoot stingers again. The Lizard King who stayed behind roared angrily, so the formation that had just been destroyed quickly recovered. The intact lizard stepped on the injured companion and continued to move forward. The interceptors along the way were all used by them with iron claws and iron heads. Angrily torn to pieces or knocked out. Luo Xiao was an excellent leader and commander. Facing such a situation, he still calmly judged and gave orders. After rounds of means, hundreds of tin lizards were killed or injured in half, and there were still 60 or 70 that climbed up, getting closer and closer to them. Divide into 3 teams and take turns to fight in close quarters. The team members stayed on the high ground, waiting for the first group of lizards to climb up, and before they stopped, they rushed up and joined hands in pairs. The limited area of the high ground makes it impossible for these lizards to climb up all in one swarm, which is extremely beneficial to the fighters of the Wolf Slayer team, who can calmly join forces to harvest their lives. Guyao and Qi Changjai each guarded a corner. Seeing that those body refiners were good at fighting, they stopped paying attention. They needed to fight to constantly improve their strength, instead of being protected by others everywhere, as long as the key always hold hands so they don't lose their lives. This battle was much more difficult than the previous one. One group returned to the formation to rest immediately after exhaustion. The second group of players went out to fight. After they were exhausted, the third group was the only one who didn't move from the beginning to the end. Gu was the only one. Yao and Qi Changjai were alone, and no iron skin lizard could get close to them. Almost all of them were killed with one blow. Luo Xiao saw all these situations in his eyes, and was very fortunate again. If the two of them hadn't been invited to cooperate this time, they wouldn't know how much they would have survived. Before dark, they finally got rid of the last batch of tin lizards, and it was everyone who came out of the formation to chase these big guys, because they also have the instinct to seek good luck and avoid evil. To sweep away the wild beasts on this road, he chased them out. When they returned to the high ground, everyone laughed and fell down. The battle was very enjoyable, and not a single player was damaged. The injured were only slightly injured, and they could recover in one night. Among them, Captain Luo and Guyao and Qi Changjai made several shots to rescue them from a critical situation, which made the team members grateful to Guyao and Qi Changjai. After regaining some strength, some people went to harvest the most delicious parts of the two wild beasts, raised fires on the high ground, took out the seasonings they carried with them and grilled them, and some team members put away all their spoils. Guyao and Qi Changjai also set off with this group of people. There is a lot of spiritual energy here, and a lot of spiritual grass grows. They also found some good things in the scorpion nest and the old lizard nest. Because of the cooperative relationship, everything they found belongs to them and does not need to be distributed, and they have a share of the collective harvest. After this battle, no one has an opinion. Everyone was eating barbecued meat and drinking spirit wine. They were in high spirits. Some people learned how to call wild animals. There are guards from the city lord's mansion patrolling the situation in the air. When they came here, they found that all the wild beasts had been cleaned up. They were surprised. There were people who were bought by Matthew and thought they would come and collect the corpses. Here I am. One of them landed on the high ground and asked, "The wild beast here has run away." Luo Xiao walked out of the formation as soon as they appeared, and replied, "At this time, it's all wiped out. The scorpion tails and lizard claws collected here." The man glanced at the storage bag, and there were densely piled scorpion tails and lizard iron claws, all of which were excellent materials for forging weapons and refining tools. "Well done. I will say a few words for you in front of the big housekeeper when I go back, and I will continue to work hard." Okay. Luo Xiao watched the pedestrian fly away and spit in secret, knowing that this person might be so depressed. After a round of inspection, the pedestrian returned to the treasure ship and reported the situation in various places, but he didn't say a few words for the Wolf Slayer team as he said before. After listening to the situation, Butler Lee was not very happy, that's all. On the first day, it caused so many casualties, and the speed of advance was too slow. When will it be possible to complete the task of the city master? Butler Lee, we will urge them to do things well. Butler Lee waved his hand. This is not a matter of urging or not. The strength of the wild beasts here is beyond their expectations, but the more so, the less the city owner will give up the action here. The wild beasts on the outside are so powerful, the ones inside will be more powerful. Which also means that the environment inside is better. What? Are they all alive and well? Matthew cried out in disbelief. Did your arrangement go wrong and you didn't arrange them in a dangerous area? A steward in the city lord's mansion was very sure. No, there is a nest of three-tailed scorpions and a nest of iron skin lizards, which are the most difficult desolate beasts to deal with in this operation. It should not be our problem, but their affirmation. There are a lot of methods hidden. Let's try again tomorrow, and send someone to watch in the dark tomorrow to see if they have other methods. All right, Matthew sighed inwardly. The two dens of wild beasts didn't take the lives of those reckless men. They really had a big fate. While agreeing with the manager's plan, they endured heartache and took them out of the storage ring. A bag of spirit stones, stuffed into the manager's hand. Haha, fellow deist Ma, don't worry, it's not easy for them to leave alive when they get to this kind of place, with us here. You can ask Du Donji to wait for the good news. The steward got a bag of spirit stones and left with satisfaction. When they were resting at night, they were on duty in 2 shifts. The position they chose once again showed an advantage. It was not easy for the wild beasts to get close. Listening to the calls of the wild beasts from other places, everyone had a very good rest that night. After dawn the next day, everyone was full of energy, waiting for the second batch of tasks to be issued. Unsurprisingly, the level of danger and difficulty of the tasks they received had increased by 1 level. After the members of the Wolf Slayer team had dressed up, they set off very calmly and headed for the second target location. Guyao and Qi Changjai looked at each other, and the two found that they were being followed. Obviously they were really worried about them. Guyao's voice transmission informed Luo Xiao of the situation. Luo Xiao's brows only moved. Those people who wanted to see Guyao and Qi Changjai unlucky would definitely miscalculate. In the previous battle, the two of them didn't show their true strength at all. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 386. The second mission of the Wolf Slayer team was still done well. The team's equipment and the team's ability to cooperate in combat were all reported by the people who followed them. Take the big, troublesome intuition. Originally thought it was an ordinary hunting party, the number of hunting parties that disappeared on the prairie outside Biya City was unknown, and I felt that a random arrangement could make these people disappear silently, but now it is different, once or twice without success. If they let their combat capabilities enter the eyes of others or even the city lord, and these things are dug up again, he will not be good. Steward, I have also investigated the conflict between Du Donji and the Wolf Slayer team. The reason is because of the 2 new monks who joined the Wolf Slayer team, because they have created a spiritual energy that can be borrowed by body refiners. Gu, alchemy do, and the people around him not only want spirit essence Gu, but also want to control all this business in their own hands, and that's why this arrangement is made. The steward listened to Yan Ya. Okay, my feelings are fooling me like a fool. In vain, he thought he had made some extra money, but compared with such a large business, the spiritual stone he collected twice was just a hair on the cow's body. Steward, what should we do now? The steward turned the plate finger on his hand, thinking of an idea in his heart. The wolf slayer finally got a break to rest. This time the battle was over. They were more embarrassed than the last time. Luo Xiao placed all the team members, especially the wounded, and was watched by special personnel, and then came to Gu Yao and Qi Changjai alone. Although the two of them had their own luxurious caves, they didn't release them. Instead, they used the tents like the rest of the team. When they heard Luo Xiao's voice outside, Gu Yao asked him to come in directly. Luo Xiao entered and saw the two of them sitting at a table with the collected talisman materials scattered on the table. Gu Yao was helping to organize them, helping Qi Changjai. When he was resting, Qi Changjai would take time to draw some. Captain Luo, please take a seat. Luo Xiao was very ashamed to see this situation. Not only did Gu Yao and Qi Changjai have no prejudice against their body cultivators, but they even had to make magic talismans to replenish supplies during their rest time. He used to have prejudice against cultivators, but now he feels that he has a strong heart. These two are far apart. Luo is ashamed. I came here to discuss with the two seniors what to do next. No one should be watching us at this time. Gu Yao nodded. Yes, he left after the battle, presumably the other party is also considering what attitude to use next. Luo Xiao clenched his fists and said, no matter what attitude they take, we should also be prepared. We thought that the additional supplies were enough, but now it seems that it is far from enough. The magic talisman consumed in 2 consecutive battles has taken up a quarter, although Senior Qi helped to supplement it, we can't put all the burden on Senior Qi. Captain Luo, what is your suggestion? Qi Changjai raised his eyes and looked at Luo Xiao lightly. Even though he didn't release his coercion, Luo Xiao felt a lot of pressure when facing him. Luo Xiao expressed his thoughts, seeking foreign aid to reduce the pressure on the Wolf Slayer team. If their combat effectiveness had not been shown, other teams, especially those cultivators, would have regarded them as cannon fodder, but now the 2 consecutive victories should have caused some people pay attention. Then if they seek cooperation again, the Wolf Slayer team will not be at a disadvantage all the time, and it can be considered as the capital of negotiation. It will be better if they can find a team of monks and exchange them for magic talismans. Originally, Luo Xiao felt that the wolf-killing team could stand firm, and there was no need to look at other people's faces. He asked himself that the wolf-killing team was not inferior to other teams. As long as they persisted, they would definitely shine on this prairie in the future. But in 2 consecutive battles, although he won a big victory, it also made him feel the pressure on his shoulders. Once the supply of materials was insufficient, the Wolf Slayer team would likely end in a complete defeat, which was not what he hoped to see. In the past, he had prejudice against monks, and felt that body refiners were no weaker than monks. As long as they were given the opportunity to fight at close range, monks might not be. The strengths of the warriors were absorbed, and the combat effectiveness of the trainers quickly rose to a new level. But if you come into contact with other teams, especially the cultivator team, you have to take into account the attitudes of Gu Yao and Qi Changjai, and you can't directly negotiate with others over them. Gu Yao understood what Luo Xiao meant, and smiled. I also think that if one person is short and everyone is good, the next desolate beast will be more difficult to deal with, and it really needs to be prepared. If you can cooperate with other teams, of course it is better. Captain Luo can do whatever he wants, and we will cooperate with Captain Luo. Luo Xiao was deeply moved. Thank you two seniors. After Luo Xiao left, Gu Yao and Qi Changjai looked at each other and smiled. They could understand Luo Xiao's worry. Besides, Luo Xiao also worried that one day the two of them would quit their job, and the Wolf Slayer would really be in a situation where they could not retreat. To the point of being unacceptable. After all, their partnership with the Wolf Slayer team is not strong, and it is easy to leave. What do you want to do? Su Chen didn't make a sound for a long time, but he kept silently watching the situation outside, and he couldn't understand what the two were trying to do. Gu Yao shrugged. I don't want to do anything, senior, don't worry. I don't want to take out all the things on the secret, but there is no big problem with the spirit essence Gu. Su Chen rolled his eyes, wondering what to do. Is the gap between these body refiners and cultivators so easy to solve? Can you change the status quo with just the two of you? Gu Yao innocently said, who said that, brother? Yeah, and I want to change the status quo. It just happened to meet the Zhong family and his son, and then we wanted to experience the life in Biacheng. For the sake of seniors, I can't expose my elixir. So I had to find other means of earning a living. Su Chen was choked for a moment, and the problem of feelings still lies with him. Seeing the appearance of the senior being choked to the point of being speechless, Gu Yao secretly laughed in his heart, and explained kindly on his face, actually, I didn't really want to completely change the status quo, but I just did something to see if it could cause a problem. What kind of change? And for the high level, this change is not in their eyes at all. In the next few days, Luo Xiao will be looking for an opportunity for the Wolf Slayer to appear. Opportunities can always be found as long as you have the heart. With each battle, they continued to advance from the periphery to the inside, and the encircling circle formed by each team became smaller and smaller. Unlike before, the teams were separated by a certain distance, and there was not much contact with each other. It's getting closer now. On this day, the Wolf Slayer team had just destroyed a nest of 3 desolate beasts that were intercepting their way. 2 of them were powerful enough to reach the initial stage of divine transformation. Luo Xiao led the team to contain them. In the end, Gu Yao and Qi Changjai took action to destroy them. Just as he was looking for a place to camp and rest, he suddenly heard a sound in the distance. Luo Xiao alerted the team members and looked vigilantly in the direction of the movement. Gu Yao and Qi Changjai swept away their senses, and immediately said, someone is fleeing to us, and the group of vampire bat beasts are chasing them. Vampire bat beast? Luo Xiao's pupils shrank suddenly. He didn't expect to encounter such a desolate beast here. He waved his hand and ordered, quickly enter the formation, prepare to attack from afar, and prepare the poison thorn, fire talisman, and thunder talisman. The sound is getting closer and closer, and they can't run away from this thing now. Only by fighting to the death with vampire bats can they survive. As soon as the well-trained team members heard the order, they turned around and ran into the formation. They also knew very well that the inside of the defensive formation was the best place to hide. The copper bones can't stand the torn claws of the vampire bat, and can the whole person into a mummified corpse in an instant. Luo Xiao was the last to enter the formation. He stepped into the formation and turned his head to see what was happening behind him. The monk was flying desperately in the sky. The back was dark and flickering with red light. The eyes of the vampire bats are overwhelming, and even the light here has dimmed. There are people over there, fly over there, help. Help us stop the vampire bats behind. But so far no one has come to support. However, no one ran out to help them intercept the vampire bats behind them. The cultivators who were fleeing for their lives fell into despair, and screams sounded from behind. Needless to say, another companion was caught up by the vampire bats. The team members in the formation were hurrying to make preparations. When they heard the screams and saw the situation in the air, their hands trembled and they almost dropped the crossbow in their hands. In the air in the distance, a cultivator was caught by several vampire bats chasing after him and cracked the protective cover. The cultivator only had time to scream, and the blood in his body was devoured by the vampire bats, turning into a mummified corpse and falling from the air. Go down. When they encounter these vampire bats, they will also become their blood eaters, becoming a sucked dry corpse. The archers are ready, the fire talisman and thunder talisman are ready, and everything obeys my orders. Luo Xiao also began to sweat coldly on his forehead, but he couldn't let the team members go out to save people, so he could only shout loudly, "There is a protective formation here, hurry up and take shelter." Finally saw a little hope. The cultivator who escaped in the air suddenly increased in speed, rushed towards the protection formation below, followed by a piece of Wu Yin also swooped down, and Luo Xiao's clenched palms were wet with sweat. "Two seniors, please help save people." Okay, Qi Changjai agreed. He and Gu Yao were also in the formation. It was getting closer and closer, and the piece of vampire bats in Wu Yinjia brought great psychological pressure to everyone. The vampire bats seemed to see the thoughts of their prey, and a few speeded up. The defense of the monk. After a few counts, I saw dozens of black shadows jumping out from the eyes of everyone, and they were retracted at a faster speed in a blink of an eye, mixed with the exclamations of monks. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 387. The situation of saving people happened in an instant, and the vampire bat also came in a blink of an eye. Luo Xiao hissed and shouted, "Quick, attack! Poisonous thorns, fire and thunder charms together. Don't stay behind." The person was rescued, and the other team members didn't see how they were rescued. They heard the vampire bats that couldn't stop the speed bang 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 hitting their protective formation, and the formation burst into bursts of light. The energy consumption in the spirit stone that keeps the formation running is extremely fast. As soon as Luo Xiao's order came out, all the long-range attackers shot at this moment. Outside the formation, thunder and lightning roared and flames filled the sky. Some vampire bats were split into black coal by lightning, and some of them burned into a flame and hissed in vain. Screaming, some were shot and fell down, but more vampire bats attacked the protective formation. Their attack methods are very rough and simple. One is a collision, and the other is torn with very sharp claws. The protective formation seems to be crumbling under such an offensive. Luo Xiao's eyes were also red at the moment. They couldn't panic, and they couldn't shrink back. There was only one way, and that was to fight these vampire bats to the death. Attack! Don't stop! The group of more than a dozen cultivators who were pulled by something and dragged into the protective formation knew that they had been rescued after being dizzy for a while, but seeing that they were about to fall into a critical situation again, someone shouted, "Quick, let's attack together, before it's time to relax. Help if you want to survive." He's right, get up and fight. With them joining, the pressure on the Wolf Slayer team has been relieved a lot. Gu Yao and Qi Changjai did not stand by and watch. Gu Yao supported the formation, and Qi Changjai came out from time to time, specifically looking for the strongest vampire bat to attack. As soon as the vampire bats approached his body, they blew up and were smashed into pieces. The bows and crossbows in the hands of the Wolf Slayer team were too hot to use, all the magic talismans on their bodies were smashed, and the spiritual stones supporting the protective formation were replaced several times, but the big formation was still unable to support it, and some places were attacked by vampire bats. There must be a crack, and the hearts of the people are lifted again. At this critical juncture, rainbow lights came galloping from the horizon, and the people in the formation discovered it and were overjoyed. "Help is here, support us for a while, and the people who save us are here." It was the of the city lord's mansion, and a group of dozens of people came to emergency rescue. At this time, the corpses of vampire bats outside the formation were piled up into mountains. The light of the law was getting darker and darker, and the monks who came over joined the ranks of slaughtering the vampire bats without saying a word. They came fully armed and used various methods frequently. In addition, the number of vampire bats was limited at the moment, so under the internal and external attack, the vampire bats were finally emptied. It is difficult to develop into the huge scale it used to be. At this moment, the protective formation completed its final mission. After a flash of light, it completely fell into darkness, and the spirit stone shattered into powder with a bang, and the formation plate was overloaded due to its overload. Broken and broken. Except for Guyao and Chi Changjai, all the others collapsed to the ground, including the group of monks who escaped from the vampire bat. The fear of mummies. Which team are you from? How did you discover the vampire bats? Where are their dens? Among the guards who came to support, the leader came out and glanced around, and finally turned his attention to Guyao and Chi Changjai, thinking that they were the leaders. Guyao didn't care about the other party's misunderstanding and said, "We are from the Wolf Slayer team. We need to ask these fellow deists about the situation of the vampire bats." One of the cultivators had just swallowed the medicine pill, got up from the ground with difficulty, straightened his robes and messy hair, and cupped his hands. "This fellow Taoist, we are from the double star business in the city. We unfortunately encountered vampire bats along the way. We escaped here, and it was the Wolf Slayer team who rescued us." That's it. The leader's impression of the wolves immediately rose, but the matter of vampire bats needs to be investigated clearly, because no trace of them has been found before. We need to find out the situation of vampire bats and tell us in detail. Say. Their luck is really bad. The original team of 60 or 70 people now only has a dozen people here. The area they are responsible for is relatively easy, but they found a large group of vampire bats in an underground cave. Attracted by the spiritual materials there, it was too late to escape when he found out that it was the vampire bat's lair, and he managed to escape by exploding a treasure from a double star business, but many companions still died in the cave and on the way to escape. Meet the wolves. Now I don't know if there are still vampire bats in the cave. There are corpses and smells everywhere, so I can't stay any longer. So after clarifying the situation, this team of guards brought back the Wolf Slayer team and the remaining monks from the Double Star business. It was also at this time that the team and the monks from the Double Star Trading Company discovered that, except for Guyao and Chi Changjai, all the other members of the Wolf Slayer team were body refiners. At first, knowing that this was the case, it was estimated that they would be completely desperate in their hearts and would not be able to raise the slightest fighting spirit. After communicating on the road, I learned about the killer in the hands of the Wolf Extermination Team, which is why the Wolf Extermination Team not only completed the task well, but also did not lose a member. It turns out that the spirit essence Gu really has such power. The two Taoist friends are the owners of Gu Kai's shop. "I'm disrespectful," the cultivator Chen from the Double Star business said with a fist. It's not that the Double Star firm didn't hear a little bit of wind before, but it didn't take it seriously. The Double Star firm is not small. What good things can't be obtained? In their opinion, what spirit essence Gu is just a gimmick to attract people's attention. After this robbery, cultivator Chen and others felt ashamed. This time, they survived by relying on Lingyu and Gu and the Wolf Slayer team. Recalling the scenes of fighting together before, they felt that Lingyu and Gu was amazing. With this little thing immediately make up for the shortcomings of the trainer. In this way, the body refiners can play a much greater role than before. Perhaps the Double Star firm should consider cooperating with the Gukka store and the Wolf Slayer team. They sent them to the resting place of each team, which was also the base of the city lord's mansion. The treasure ship also drove in and stopped at a high altitude above. The guards found them a place to stay, and they were going to report on the vampire bats. Captain Lugo and the monks from the Double Star firm thanked them again and again. The original team of Double Star firm was relatively strong, but now there are only a dozen people left. After discussing it privately with the others, Xiu Chen felt that it would be safer to stay with the people of the Wolf Slayer team. If you join other teams, you won't have much say. However, it is important to adjust the breath and recover first. They rearranged the protection and alert formation, and seized the time to repair the injuries on their bodies and restore their strength. On the other side, Steward Lee of the City Lord's mansion learned about the vampire bats, and he attached great importance to it. He immediately dispatched a strong team to the location explained by the monks of the double-star commercial firm. At the same time, Steward Lee reported to the guards that called the hunting team of the Wolf Slayer team also became curious, especially the spirit essence goo used by some body refiners of the Wolf Slayer team, and reported it to the Qin City Lord. City Lord Qin was playing chess with Alchemist Yet. After he made his move, City Lord Qin said, "Spiritual essence goo? Can the cultivator borrow spiritual power to use the spirit talisman formation plate? It sounds very interesting, but when did it appear? No one is there? Report to the City Lord's mansion." Alchemist Yet chuckled, "Even if someone knows about it, it's not a gadget that doesn't attract attention, or they want to swallow it privately. Go and find out what tasks the hunting team has been assigned this time, and you'll know this." Do the people in the City Lord's mansion have their own thoughts and make small moves in private? Butler Lee laughed dryly. He didn't even need to investigate, so he dared to say that most of this matter was told by Alchemist Yet. City Lord Qin didn't embarrass Butler Li. He has always kept his eyes open and closed his eyes on the following matters. This kind of intrigue has greatly affected his cultivation. Those with shallow eyelids are destined to not go far, and those who have the ability and luck are also very lucky. People can naturally stand out from it. Okay, just go down and find out what's going on. As for what's inside and out, just deal with it. Yes, City Lord. City Lord Lee went down to investigate the Wolf Slayer team and Ling Yuan Gu. City Lord Qin and Alchemist Ye continued to play chess. Alchemy Ye didn't know at the moment that this matter would be related to him. On the other hand, the guards brought people back and they sent people to investigate and clean up blood-sucking. Especially about the latter, it is the concern of all the teams that come here. If you encounter hordes of vampire bats, bad luck will destroy the entire team. This time, a team supported the team to rescue, and many people survived. Of course, it attracted everyone's attention, and they all inquired about what was going on. Naturally, this also attracted Matthew and the manager, who has been paying attention to the situation of the Wolf Slayer team. Attention! Really, the Wolf Slayer? How could they escape from the vampire bats? For a moment, the steward also doubted the great role of the spirit essence goo. Yes, they met the monks of the double-star caravan who escaped. The two teams joined forces to kill the vampire bats. If the guards did not rescue them in time, the result would be hard to say. When the vampire bats were repelled, the guards would bring them back together. "It's time to rest," the steward gasped, and his teeth hurt after hearing this, because he had a hunch that the matter of spirit essence goo would be overwhelmed, and those reckless men were lucky too. They ran into vampire bats, but they still survived. Go, and tell the surnamed Ma about this and see what they do." "I don't care." "Yes, in charge." Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 388. Matthew was very unhappy. The Wolf Slayer team and those two fellows who had no eyesight were still alive and well. It was all too timid to blame the people who did the work. At the same time, he was worried in his heart. He could see the prospect of Ling Yuan Gu at the beginning, but others might not. Not everyone is as easy to fool as Dan Master do wedding clothes. But it's not easy to make big moves now. Once he falls into the eyes of the City Lord, he can't eat and walk around. Matthew stopped for a while and decided to find another opportunity. Notice who comes into contact with them. The news of the report made him even more unhappy. The Wolf Slayer actually met the people of the Double Star Caravan. It is said that the Wolf Slayer saved the Double Star Caravan and his party in distress. He can arbitrarily find fault with the Wolf Slayer and Guk's shop, but this 2-star caravan is different. The shop in Biya City is only one branch of the 2-star caravan. However, with one mistake, he actually let the Wolf Slayer team hook up with the double-star caravan, and he told himself that the double-star caravan could not look down on the Wolf Slayer team, nor did they look down on the Spirit Essence Goo, but this time the more it's to tell yourself that the more anxious you are. On the other hand, Butler Lee quickly investigated the whole matter, and it was easy to find out that Matthew once came under the banner of the City Lord's mansion and wanted to forcibly recruit Gook's shop. Moreover, it is the method of cultivating the Spirit Essence Goo. After coming here, Physician Matthew did take advantage of Du Donji's reputation and position to bribe the people of the City Lord's mansion and sent the Wolf Slayer team to a dangerous area. The people of the Wolf Slayer team can live well, thanks to the Spirit Essence Goo cultivated by Gook's shop, equipped with a lot of team members, and the two monks themselves are not weak, so they can persist until now, and change to a slightly weaker one. Is likely to be wiped out. In fact, there have been many cases of bullying like this in Biya City. In the past, it would never have caught their eyes, but this time, because of the vampire bat, the Spirit Essence Goo came out, and the ghosts below couldn't hide it. The information about the wolf killing team and Gook's shop was sent to the Lord Chin, especially the two owners of the Gook's shop and the recent results of the wolf killing team. Two foreign cultivators, the cultivators who cultivated Ling Yuan Gu, are naturally more worthy of attention than Ling Yuan Gu itself. Yes, the city lord, he came to Biya City with the father and son more than a year ago. Soon after, he hired the father and son to open a shop in the North District. At first, the shop did not receive much attention until wolf killing. The reputation of the team's first battle General Ling Yuan Gu started, and this shop has attracted more and more attention among the body refiners in the North District, and it has also been targeted by many people, until, cough. Butler Lee coughed uncomfortably, and what was concealed was what someone did this time under the banner of the City Lord's mansion. The City Lord Chin sneered, "You're not too timid, you can even falsify a summons order that needs to be signed by the City Lord. How many of these things usually happen? The rest is nothing, it's all within his expectations, but he really doesn't know about this forcible recruitment. He didn't expect the people below to be so bold." Butler Lee hurriedly explained, "Normally the people below don't dare to do this, but this time it was because the two monks just came from outside, so they shouldn't know the rules of the city, but since this monk made a big mistake, it can no longer be tolerated in Biya City, and in the opinion of my subordinates, it should be expelled from Biya City immediately." City Lord Chin's expression eased for a while. Alchemist Ye was listening all the time. City Lord Chin came to an end here. He used his finger. I clicked on some information and said, "Is there a named disciple involved here? Is there such an alchemist among my named disciples?" Butler Lee was ashamed. "Yes, Donji Du is the named disciple that Donji Ye admitted. Alchemist Ye doesn't care about named disciples, except for serious disciples, who is usually only entrusted by City Lord Chin to help him give pointers to alchemists, but at the moment he doesn't care. Then let's get rid of the name. This eyesight is too bad, make it clear he was being used by others, and he was complacent, thinking that the people around him really cared for him. One of the two owners of the shop is also an alchemist. Ask him if he would like to come to me, and buy one from him. The best grade Spirit Essence Goo that can be cultivated." Alchemist Ye asked the alchemists in the shop to come to him to make up for it, since the former surnamed Du still had his name as a disciple. "Okay, Alchemist Ye, this subordinate will make a trip in person." Butler Lee hurriedly went to work, and the Chin City Lord smiled and said, "Are you really interested in that Spirit Yuan Gu?" City Lord Chin can of course see the potential of the Spirit Essence Gu, but in his opinion, it is of great benefit to the middle and low-level people, but unless he cultivates Spirit Essence Gu with similar strength to them, it will not be of much use. If there is a Spirit Essence Gu at the refining level, he would be interested in getting one to have a look, But can only 2 spirit transformation cultivators be able to cultivate it? Alchemist Ye smiled. You reminded me, one day I saw this alchemist and asked him how to continue cultivating spirit essence goo. I'm sure it's not bad for this amount of time and resources. City Lord Qin smiled and shook his head. After leaving the treasure ship, Steward Li came to the resting place of the Wolf Slayer team and the Shuangxian caravan. After adjusting the interest rate, the cultivator Chen, Guyao Qi Changjai and Luo Xiao were chatting, and cultivator Chen took the initiative to propose that this time the Wolf Slayer team the harvest, after meeting the needs of Guyao and the others, was purchased by the Double Star caravan at a suitable price. Luo Xiao was also quite surprised. He thought that when he got here, the people from the Double Star Trading Company would leave, but he didn't expect to throw an olive branch to them. In addition to acting with them, he would also buy their harvest. Although Double Star business is not the most famous business in the Southern District, it is also unattainable for the Wolf Slayer team, so why would they reject such a result? Luo Xiao also knew very well in his heart that the main goal of Shuangxian Trading Company was not the Wolf Slayer team, but Guyao and Qi Changjai, but it would be the best result to be able to act with them. The face of the firm, and with the cultivators of the Double Star firm joining in, their team strength will be doubled. Seeing the person coming, cultivator Chen got up and greeted him. How come Butler Li has time to come to us? Could it be that the city lord's mansion has something else to do? It turned out to be young Master Chen. Butler Li was also taken aback when he saw this man. He knew a little bit more about the background of the Double Star firm than others. In the eyes of others, Chen Sheng was the general manager of the Double Star firm, but he actually had a little bit of it at its headquarters. In the background, coming to Biya city is considered to be exile, and it is also considered a kind of training, but maybe one day, if you go back, you can get reused. Master Chen didn't stay in the city. How did he come out with the caravan? He encountered vampire bats before. If something goes wrong, what can Master Chen do? Guyao blinked. It seemed that this cultivator Chen had a lot of background, and the big housekeeper of the city lord's mansion treated him like this. Chen Sheng cupped his hands and said, "It was an accident before, and I'm also a spirit transformation cultivator, and I have the power to protect myself. Butler Li is here. I don't know what the city lord's mansion has ordered." After being reminded by Chen Sheng, Butler Li temporarily put aside the matter of why Chen Sheng came out, glanced at the members of the Wolf Slayer team and Guyao Qi Changjai, and briefly explained that Matthew and Du Dan were calculating behind their backs, and explained that the attitude and handling of the city owner. Luo Xiao and the others were indignant and excited. They didn't expect this matter to be taken seriously by the city owner and dealt with the villains in person. Chen Sheng secretly paid attention to the situation of Guyao and others, and found that Guyao and Qi Changjai did not have much emotional fluctuations. Although Guyao also showed gratitude on his face, it was for others to see. Butler Li was also very satisfied with the performance of Luo Xiao and others, and then asked, "I wonder who is the alchemist in Guka's shop?" Guyao raised his eyebrows. "I am, under Guyao." It turned out to be Master Gu. Butler Li looked at Guyao and commented in his heart, "But he still has the demeanor of an alchemist." Alchemist Ye was very unhappy when he learned about what Alchemist Du was doing behind his back. In addition to the names of Du Danqi's named disciples, he also allowed Gu Alchemist to go to the alchemy hall in the city's main mansion. The teacher also needs to buy a spirit essence Gu with the best quality from the ancient alchemist. Luo Xiao and the members of the Wolf Slayer team were overjoyed when they heard that. They were all happy for Guyao and Qi Changjai. They were forced to come to the house before, not because they had no background. It's covered. The ordinary forces in Biya city will never want to bully Guka's shop. Chen Sheng was also stunned when he heard it, and then he thought that it should be the spirit essence Gu that aroused the interest of Alchemist Ye, but Alchemy Ye pays attention to what you are willing to do, rather than being too rude to do things like the following. I know what Guyao thinks of himself. Teach Guyao. He didn't even take long to grab someone with him. Even if Guyao wants to be someone's disciple, it can only be his. The surnamed Ye has not yet refined it, so there are people holding it in such a small place. In other places, especially where the alchemists gather, there are who will look at him more annoying. Guyao, listen to me, let that surnamed Ye get out of the way. How far and how far, do you know? Guyao didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but that alchemist Ye was a senior in alchemy. Anyway, he was very grateful for this opportunity, so regardless of Su Chen's shouting in the space, he said politely. It is better to be respectful than to obey. I will cultivate the spiritual essence Gu that alchemist Ye needs. Butler Li smiled with satisfaction. He seemed to be a cultivator who knew current affairs. He could do business when he went back. Then you rest, I'm going back. Luo Xiao also politely sent the people away. Maybe this was a good opportunity to get on the city lord's mansion, and at least it made their Wolf Slayer team leave an impression on Butler Li. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 389. Luo Xiao and his team members came forward to congratulate Guyao one after another. The nearby team camped and rested when they noticed Butler Li appeared, so how could they not pay attention to the situation here? Chen Sheng and his companions also congratulated Guyao, but because Chen Sheng has been paying attention to the reactions of Guyao and Qi Changjai, he is very curious about them at the moment. He can see that the two are grateful, but not as surprising as everyone expected. At the same time, Du Donji, Matthew, and others were invited out of the treasure ship by the guards, and the other people involved were also punished to some extent. This group of people left the treasure ship in a daze, but could not return to the city immediately. They found a place to settle down temporarily. Matthew and Du Dan then blamed each other, blaming the other for implicated to such a degree. It turned out that physician Matthew was afraid of Du Donji's identity, and he had always been very respectful to him on the surface. Now he has removed the identity of a registered disciple. Both of them are monks in the early stage of God transformation. If they really fight, Du Donji may not be Matthew physician's opponent, so Matthew showed his true face, and the two tore their faces. This made the onlookers watch a good show, and many people expressed schadenfreude. People with the surname Ma have always acted like this. For example, this is not the first time for Guk's shop, but in the past, everyone was afraid of their identity and had to endure it. Now they are unlucky, and they will be happy until they return to the city. Maybe there are other actions that go down the drain. After all, they will only stay in Biya city in the future, and they will never have a good life. Regarding this result, because Guyao and Qi Changjai didn't say anything, and the Wolf Slayer team didn't rush to get in the way, if they do anything, the other cultivator teams will probably have their opinions. What can be changed is that in the long run, it is extremely difficult to erase the difference between the two. The cooperation with the Double Star Trading Company has greatly relieved the current pressure on the Wolf Slayer team, because the Double Star Trading Company carries extremely rich materials. Before setting off, the Wolf Slayer team is fully armed. They are not lacking in spirit talismans and medicinal pills. The wolves also provided force protection for the Double Star firm. In the next few operations, the two sides cooperated happily, and the new team also made a name for itself, attracting more and more. Head note: Chen Sheng originally looked at the Wolf Slayer team for the sake of saving his life and Guyao Qi Changjai, and changed his prejudice against the trainers and gave them a chance, but after a few battles, Chen Sheng really appreciated it. Luo Xiao is here. Following Guyao's suggestion, Chen Sheng also handed over the battle command of his side to Luo Xiao. Following his unified order, Luo Xiao reworked the battle plan after fully considering the strengths and weaknesses of the cultivators and the trainers. The integrated team has more than doubled its strength, even Chen Sheng's cultivator has nothing to say about it. Chen Sheng could see that, regardless of his cultivation talent, Luo Xiao's talent in command and leadership was the best he had ever encountered, so he had to recruit this person under his banner no matter what, and he might be able to play it in the future. Big effect. At the same time, Lingyu Engu also shines brightly. Many people know that there is an ancient qi shop in Biya City. The shop sells an item called Lingyu Engu, which can make up for the shortcomings of body refiners in battle. The distance between the low-level body refiners and the monks, even the monks can benefit from it, so before the operation is over, the Gukka shop has received a lot of orders. The further you advance inward, the stronger the wild beasts you encounter, and the damage to each team. It is not that the entire army was wiped out. Guyao and Qi Changjai have gone from the original swept formation to the current frequent shots. Even so, there is no guarantee that no members of the Wolf Slayer team will die. There will always be times when it is too late to rescue them. Strength, this result is outstanding. Qin Chenzu himself dispatched himself to kill a wild beast whose strength reached the peak of Huashan. Compared with the initial departure, the entire action team shrunk by nearly 2/3. Even so, it did not make each team have any idea of retreat. This is the case in the world of practice. If you want to rise, you have to fight with people and with heaven. When I arrived here, the surrounding aura was more than 2 or 3 times more intense than the one I just came in. I discovered along the way. Got it? Chen Sheng wiped the blood stains on his face, looked ahead and said, "It is said that because the restrictions in front are getting looser and looser, the spiritual energy keeps leaking out, attracting more and more wild beasts, and they divide their territories according to their strengths, so the further you go to the center, the stronger the spiritual energy, and the stronger the wild beast." The original aura leak was a very slow process. The place was far enough away, and it was first occupied by wild beasts, so it never attracted the attention of the monks. I can't hide it anymore. There should be desolate beasts that can refine the virtual power. We can't play a big role. The next battle should be the city owner himself. We only need to contain the other desolate beasts summoned by the refining wild beasts. Fortunately, after passing through this way, the number of desolate beasts left is not much, otherwise, the situation will be overwhelming. Guyao and Qi Changjai think about it too. Although the decisive role is Qin Chenzu, the void refinement cultivator, but if they are fighting, the void refinement wild beast will summon tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of wild beasts through level suppression, and use the sea of beasts. Tactical consumption can also drain the cultivator to death here, not to mention what treasures are harvested. The restriction in front was covered by fog, and after a while, a roar of a beast came from inside, and anyone familiar with the wild beast knew that this was a warning sound from the wild beast, driving out any creatures that came to its territory. The coercion conveyed by the roar is very intimidating. People with low strength have qi and blood in their bodies surging, and have to retreat. At this time, there is only one result of rushing up, and that is to die. Shocked to death for the low man. City Lord Qin flew out of the treasure ship, accompanied by several masters in the city owner's mansion, all of whom were cultivators who were infinitely close to refining the strength. Guyao and the others watched from a distance. Chen Sheng pointed at the monk in the blue shirt above and said, "That's Alchemist Ye, it seems that Alchemist Ye is going to take action this time." 1 foot. City Lord Qin responded to the warning sound of the wild beast with a long whistle made by himself. The whistling rushed towards the fog area and the prohibition. It can be seen that the head of a giant beast is stretched out, and the eyes that are covered with scales are extremely fierce. The long neck is also covered with dark scales that can reflect the light, and the looming back grows the thorns shining with cold light. Seeing this situation, many people let out a gasp. This time the wild beast is very difficult. It's an armored beast, with very little dragon blood flowing in its body, but because of its extremely low intelligence, It cannot be recognized by the dragons, and they are not allowed to bear the name of a dragon, so they are called armored beasts instead of armor. Spinosaurus, but it cannot be denied that its strength is very tyrannical. Chen Sheng also gasped. If he had known that it was such a wild beast, he should have dispatched an expert earlier. The most terrible thing is that this kind of armored and thorny beast usually appears in pairs, which means that there is another armored and thorny beast where we can't see it. If it is also a virtual strength, then this battle is dangerous. It is incalculable. I can only hope that the Qin City Lord and the others are well prepared. Gu Yao and Qi Changjai are also shocked. Although they have learned a lot of information about wild beasts in the past year, they are not as comprehensive as Chen Sheng. This is called the armored thorn beast. The second experience knows that, needless to say, there will be a tough battle next, and the role they can play is really just helping to contain other wild beasts. Although the city lord Qin responded with a whistling sound and provoked the Ankylosaurus, he did not lower his guard, but with a solemn expression, he directly took out his own bell-shaped treasure and waited for it, and ordered, "I will deal with this ankylosing dragon. You and Alchemist Ye are responsible for containing the other side that may exist. Others, come out to help in the late stage of God transformation, and all the rest retreat." "Yes, City Lord." Following the response, 7 or 8 cultivators flew out from their respective teams and joined the team led by Alchemy Ye. The Double Star Trading Company originally had a late-stage cultivator accompanying him, but they were in the battle against the vampire bats. Fallen and died. "Let's step back." Chen Shengchong nodded to Luo Xiao, who calmly ordered them to stay behind to increase casualties. They were lucky to be able to watch a battle of this level. Not long after they had withdrawn, they heard the roars of the beasts in front of them, and a hill-like desolate beast ran out of the fog. "With your mouth open, you can smell the wind from so far away." City Lord Qin flew over. His figure was incomparable to that of the wild beast. However, the aura that erupted was astonishing. The bell-shaped treasure smashed towards the wild beast's head, and there was a humming sound in the sky. The soul was shaken, and the cultivator in flight nearly lost control and fell. Chen Sheng was also buzzing in his head by the sound, looked back and said, "This is the famous treasure of Qin City Lord, the soul-suppressing bell. It is really powerful, and it is really beneficial to use it to deal with wild beasts." The souls of Gu Yao and Qi Changjai were very stable, and the impact was relatively small. When they looked back, they saw that the soul-suppressing bell swelled up in the air, hitting the head of the wild beast again and again. The wild beast's arrogance was indeed suppressed. Roaring the sound can also be heard a little different. Sample. It's calling its companions. Luo Xiao was so shocked that he almost vomited blood for the first time, and he felt more comfortable after running a long way. Hearing the roar of the armored spiny dragon, he said with certainty. Sure enough, the angry roar of another Ankylosaurus came out, and Alchemist Ye and others standing in the air were refreshed, and they all had treasures in their hands. "Come." Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 390. Another armored thorn beast was exposed to everyone's eyes. Although it was slightly smaller than the other, the breath that came out was definitely at the level of refining virtual, and no one dared to approach the battle center. Gu Yao and his party retreated to a safe enough area to ensure that they could see the situation of the battle. When they turned around, they saw the masters of the city lord's mansion who were cooperating with Alchemist Ye. They used various means, either ropes or chains, and put them on them. The limbs and neck of the armored thorn beast together exerted force outwards, and at the same time, Ye Danqi shot a ring-shaped treasure towards the armored thorn beast. With a bang, people turned on their backs, and all the masters of the city lord's mansion who besieged the armored thorn beast flew out. The ropes and chains in their hands couldn't trap the wild beast at all, but it was Alchemist Ye's ring-shaped treasure that brought out a bloodline, but compared with the huge beast, the wound was almost negligible, and it angered the armored thorn beast, roaring again and again, and flung its long neck towards the cultivator 11 in the air. Get out! Following the warning from Alchemist Yaoi, the ring-shaped treasure in mid-air spun and flew back, hitting the wild beast's head from behind. The crisis of the monks in front was relieved immediately, and they quickly stabilized their bodies, together with the magical treasures. Attack the wild beast. The wounds on this armored thorn beast were made by Yadanchi, so the wild beast ignored the others and stared at the enemy of Yadanchi. The distance between the thorn beasts is getting farther and farther, and I feel a little at ease. The lethality of the two wild beasts is the strongest. Now that they are separated, Qin City Lord can free up his hands and deal with the other end first. Therefore, Alchemist Yaoi instructed, you don't have to carry it hard, retreat first if you can't get a hit, and use up its energy to create wounds as much as possible. Yes, Alchemist Yaoi, everyone listened to the order, and they didn't think they could kill a wild beast at the level of refining, and this was the strongest wild beast at the same level. The situation there is much better than here, City Lord Qin, because City Lord Qin uses his own strengths to attack the weaknesses of the armored thorn beast, who makes his head much smaller than his body. He only knows how to act according to his instincts, so he repeats it again and again. The sound of hum sounded, the armored thorn beast became more and more dizzy, and attacked indiscriminately, and the surrounding mountains, rocks, and plants fell into bad luck. As if seeing that his partner's situation was not good, the armored thorn beast that was besieged by Alchemist Yaoi made another roar, echoed by scattered beast roars in the distance. This is the summoning of wild beasts whose level is not as good as theirs to help. Finally, it was the turn of Guiyao and the others who followed. I have to admit that the strategy adopted by the Qin City Master was very correct from the beginning. From the outside to the inside, the desolate beasts were cleaned up layer by layer. If they could ensure that when they fought against the armored beasts, the number of desolate beasts they summoned was also very limited. The accompanying team is enough to deal with them. The wild beasts that appeared were solved by each team with the fastest speed. It was found that the situation was not right. The armored thorn beast made a summoning sound, but no wild beast appeared. The armored thorn beast was so angry that it roared again and again. The late-stage monk was drawn, and spit out blood and flew out. Save the people, the team guarding outside took action one after another, and as soon as they caught the man, they immediately put the healing medicine in his mouth. Guiyao and Luo Xiao were all astonished. The power of this desolate beast was indeed terrifying. With just a swipe of its neck, it could almost kill a monk in the late stage of God transformation. The armored thorn beast is now in rage. Even more difficult to deal with. I have a way, I don't know if I can give it a try, Guiyao said after deliberation. Qi Changjai saw Guyao's gaze swept across the bows and crossbows in the hands of the members of the Wolf Slayer team, and guessed what he was thinking, and said, "You can give it a try, the defense of this armored thorn beast's skin is too strong. The way to restrain it, it's hard to trap it." Looking at the situation on Alchemist Yaoi's side, if they dragged on like this, they would not be able to contain one end, and if it merged with the other end, the situation would be very unfavorable for them. "Go, I'll protect you. Captain Luo, borrow your bow and crossbow." Qi Changjai said that he swept away the bow and crossbow in Luo Xiao's hand, flew out with Guiyao, and flew towards the battle center of Alchemy Yaoi. Luo Xiao was in a hurry. "Come back soon, that wild beast is really powerful." "Master Chen, how can this be?" Chen Sheng reassured him, "Don't worry, let's see what they want to do. If there is a way, you might as well give it a try. It is easy to get involved in the battle, even if Qi Changjai asks himself that his strength is not weak, he does not feel that he has the strength to contain this big guy." Guiyao picked up his crossbow and aimed it at the mouth that the giant beast had opened when it roared. The teeth were so sharp that it was estimated that even the cultivators couldn't stand it. Alchemist Yaoi actually took time to look at the two spirit transformation cultivators who flew over, but it was just the beginning. How could he be of any help? It's good enough not to cause chaos, and he reprimanded, Don't retreat quickly. Alchemist yeah, Chi Changjai said calmly, instead of attacking from the outside, it is better to find a way to send the poison thunderbolt into the mouth of the armored thorn beast. The way to do it, I also want Alchemist yeah and everyone to help me to contain and attract the attention of the big guys. Everyone, including Alchemy yeah, heard this, and Alchemy yeah no longer drove them away, but asked, can you guarantee that it will be shot in its mouth? Just give it a try. Chi Changjai couldn't guarantee that nothing would go wrong, but it was better than doing nothing. Okay, come and try, leave the rest to us. Alchemy yet took a risk, as this guy said, could there be worse results? Guyao has played with firearms in the interstellar world. After coming here, he has also played several times with the bow and crossbow created by Cai Sheng. The thunderbolt charm and a bunch of messy poisons were bound to the arrows with spiritual power, and waited until the armored thorn beast chased after him. When Alchemist Ya opened his mouth to close his mouth, with a squeak, Li Ya quickly shot out. Burst. Boom boom boom. This scene made the Wolf Slayer and the other teams watching the game stunned. The painful roar of the giant beast came from the blasting sound. Is this a success? Alchemist yet turned around and stood in the air, waving his sleeves to disperse the dust and smoke in the air. He saw the entangled big guy twisting his neck desperately in the air. But it was black, and the flesh and blood were being corroded with the naked eye. Alchemist yes snorted in his heart, what kind of poison are these, and can poison the beast of the refining level like this? Alchemist yet thought so in his heart, but he exclaimed excitedly, is there any more? 2 more times. Guyao didn't wait for Alchemist yes orders, and was already anxious to prepare for the second shot. The big guy also found out that it was Guyao's damage here, gave up chasing Alchemist yeah and others, and turned his head to look at Guyao. Began to rumble towards here, and a strong hostility rushed towards them. Go. When Alchemist yeah gave an order, the other cultivators also reacted and quickly attacked the giant beasts to buy time and opportunity for Guyao and the others, while Chi Changjai took Guyao back and moved fast. Guyao's bow and crossbow were still stable. Steady and then fire the second arrow. The giant beast swayed its head to prevent the arrow from hitting it. Unexpectedly, the second arrow was just a cover. Just as the giant beast's head swayed to the side, the third arrow that followed, exploded again after a burst. There was only a loud bang, the earth trembled violently, and the giant beast fell down. Alchemist yeah and others seized the opportunity to take advantage of your illness to kill you. In the attack, Chi Changjai also took Guyao back further. According to him, he and Guyao would not need to take action next. When the other giant beast was beheaded by City Lord Qin, the giant beast on this side was also dying under repeated bombing attacks. Alchemist yes ring-shaped treasure shot again, drilled into the wound, and smashed the giant beast's body. The neck is separated from the head. There was a burst of cheers at the scene, and the members of the Double Star Firm and the Wolf Slayer team shouted especially loudly, because Guyao and Chi Changjai have contributed to this, and no one can deny it. City Lord Qin took a lot of energy. Butler Li came forward and arranged for everyone to move to a place to rest, waiting for City Lord Qin and Alchemist yet to finish adjusting their breaths. At the same time, they arranged for people to dissect 2 armored and thorn beasts. Their scales and armor can resist refining. In the early days of the monks, a little processing is an excellent defensive armor. Guyao and Chi Changjai returned to the team and received a warmer welcome. Other teams also greeted them one after another. He's monk, and this kind of hobby. It's clearly different. I subconsciously felt that this person was not easy to provoke, especially the group of Matthews. When everyone cheered, they had already run away quietly. Even if it was dangerous to stay overnight on the grassland, it would be better than staying here without knowing when Guyao late night under the dark hand. Well. They decided to defect to another city, not to die with Bia Cheng. Qin Chenzu only asked someone to ask about the details of the time after he adjusted his breath. At that time, he concentrated on dealing with his opponent, and vaguely knew what was going on next to him. Only now did he realize that there were two monks who helped a lot after asking, it has something to do with the previous spirit essence Gu. When he came out of his resting place, he saw that alchemist Ye was instructing the chief butler to do something, and when he saw that Chinchinzo had also come out, he said with a smile, "Just right, I asked Butler Li to invite the two fellow deists over to sit down, Qin Cheng should not be together." "Okay, I just want to meet you." Chinchinzo laughed loudly. It didn't take long for Guyao and Qi Changjai to come with Butler Li this time. Butler Li's attitude towards them has changed a lot. There are many cultivators in Biacheng, but not everyone can join alchemy and master Li in the eyes of City Lord Qin. From now on, they are no longer nameless characters in Biya City. City Lord Qin, alchemist Ye Guyao and Qi Changjai greeted the two of them. "Two fellow deists, please take a seat." Alchemist Ye invited them to take a seat with a smile, and brewed spiritual tea for them and the Qin City Lord in person. City Lord Qin smelled the smell and said with a smile, "This time I've been completely soaked, and it's rare to drink your refreshing tea, but this time I'm willing to take it out to entertain guests." Ye Danqi was not annoyed, and explained to Guyao and Qi Changjai, "The effect of cleansing the heart tea is significant only when you drink it for the first time. Continuing to drink it is similar to cow chewing peony. Drinking it for others is a waste of good things." City Lord Qin wiped his face, feeling that he is the cow that chews peony, and giving him a drink is a waste. The two of Guyao thanked them, took a sip of the tea and took a sip to cleanse their hearts. As the name suggests, it is to clean the dust of the soul. After taking a sip, there is a feeling of spiritual clarity, as if the world in front of them is much clearer. "Good tea." "Thank you." Alchemist Ye Guyao praised. With the help of the refreshing tea, the next conversation went much smoother. Guyao and Qi Changjai did not shy away that they had recently come from the mainland below. Get familiar with the new environment. City Lord Qin and Alchemist Ye were quite surprised. They had thought about whether these two would come from some family, because it could be seen that the two were quite young, but they didn't expect to come from other low-level continents. In their opinion, the cultivation environment in the following continents is very poor. Even the barren states are not rich, and even Biacheng is not a good place. But they also know that the cultivation continents below, even those in Biacheng, the environment is also not as good, but they are still able to cultivate to God transformation at such an age, which shows that the cultivation talent is extraordinary. Alchemist Ye talked about poisons with Guyao. In the past, he didn't like these methods very much. He felt that most people who liked these things had a bad temperament, but Guyao's eyes were very clear, and Qi Changjai was also a famous swordsman. It's hard to connect them with those monks who have a bad mind. "Guyao, I like to study these poisons. First, they are used for self-defense. Second, they are used to study detoxification pills. If you want to detoxify, you must first understand the poison, and then you can study the method of restraint. Third, some poisons can be used to cure diseases, or even to refine the body, but to abandon them just because of the word poison is more than worth the loss in their opinion." Before leaving, Guyao also left a few bottles of poison, and Alchemist Ye laughed when he looked at them. "I still thought of accepting this alchemist as a disciple." "Why?" City Lord Qin asked in confusion. Alchemist Ye shook his head and smiled. "Although Gu Alchemist and I have been discussing all kinds of poisons, it can be seen from this that Gu Alchemist's knowledge of alchemy and alchemy is not necessarily lower than mine, and he has a wide range of interests and hobbies. Maybe one day the achievement will be above me." City Lord Qin agreed and did not agree. Although there are many cultivators from other continents with outstanding talent, but the environment in the spiritual world is complicated, and few of them finally stand out. But you are right, they are newcomers. The spirit world will stay in Biya City for so long, and sooner or later after getting familiar with the environment of the spirit world, they will leave to go to other places in the spirit world, and will not stay in one place for a long time. Therefore, it is not suitable to be accepted as an apprentice.